Affirmative Reaction Podcast. 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 Affirmative Reaction Podcast.
You are now listening to the Affirmative Reaction Podcast. I guess we're supposed to say thank you for listening. Now, seriously though, we certainly appreciate anyone who listens. Definitely appreciate anyone who shares. If you like what you hear, subscribe on Spreaker. You can subscribe on iHeartRadio, on Spotify. They're on like the like Google Podcast or whatever. The Google is no more Google Music, so you got to go to like YouTube Music. You can find us on YouTube if you search Affirmative Reaction Podcast. Like the Facebook page, like the Twitter. You can find us on Gab. Well, I say Twitter already.
You just did.
I did. I feel like I'm getting old. But anyway, we start the show off with what we like to call headline reactions.
Headline reaction.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And sometimes they do escalate into pure clickbait or triggering. And that's what we like to do with these things. We have a couple of popular news sites up and we read the headlines to see if we'll be clickbaited into reading them. So without further ado, we are starting this session of headline reactions off with MSNBC.com. I'm not sure.
I don't think we've done this one before.
No, we haven't. And I'm not sure if you ever watched any MSNBC programming.
Not recently.
But I think the M stands for minority in MSNBC, but because I'm not trying to sound sexist or nothing, but they have like a lot of women anchors, a lot of colored people anchors.
Rachel Maddow.
And all they talk about really is like the wokest of topics, like mainly racial stuff. I never heard a news site or news media group talk about white supremacy so much than MSNBC.
Really?
I mean, every other word is white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, racial, racism, white supremacy. And if we look on their website here, their biggest headline, their top two headlines. One is Pete Williams. In the surprising legal strategy, U.S. offers no plea deals to accused Capitol rioters. Okay.
Why is that surprising?
That shouldn't be surprising.
Maybe because they're white and they're not being offered plea deals. And it's surprising to whoever Pete Williams is.
No, I doubt it has anything to do with them being white, or maybe it does. But this is a complete 180 from what the summer rioters were getting as far as those guys being arrested. I heard who said it? It might have been the fella Tim Pool was reading an article saying that about, I think it was only like 30%, about 30% of the people that were arrested during the summer riots were released and or not charged. So, start different. What's the second one here? Packnet Cunningham on police reform. A chokehold didn't kill George Floyd.
Who is Packnet Cunningham?
I don't know, but that's kind of triggering, I would imagine.
I thought that was actually the case. That's my understanding.
Yeah. I guess part of that is with the autopsy report saying that the fentanyl could have killed him. The trial actually starts Monday. So I guess this is...
Maybe that's why the stock crashed.
It's relative. It could be.
Thing's about to get messed up.
What else we got here on MSNBC? Ted Cruz keeps comparing Black Lives Matter protests to Capitol riots. I can't take it anymore, Hayes Brown says. Clickbait?
I don't know.
I know where he's coming from with that because Ted Cruz was doing his usual pontificating after after a Congress meeting today or yesterday, and that seems to be like a right-wing media talking point, is comparing the riots over the summer to the Capitol riot. The Capitol riot, of course, which is somewhat of a point. It wasn't just only Black Lives Matter. It was Antifa and whomever. My thing is, forget about the labels. Forget about the groups. The individuals who chose to do whatever kind of rioting needs to be put in jail, prosecuted. That's it. Simple. The GOP wants the Supreme Court to keep Democrats from winning elections. Why Fox News is focused on Dr. Seuss instead of COVID stimulus bill. Hayes Brown. Now that's a lie. That's a lie. I'm not sure.
I'm not really impressed with this website.
No,
to be honest.
I'm not either.
I'm not wanting to click anything.
Not really. And a lot of these headlines, I kind of know exactly what they're talking about, and it's somewhat false advertising, because a lot of these people who probably is on MSNBC.com probably haven't watched not one lick of Fox News, and they probably like, oh yeah, Fox News, they are. And then this just stat that came out today that Fox News said Dr. Seuss like 85 times in one day or something. So somebody probably heard that and like, yeah, Fox News is focused on Dr. Seuss. So we're gonna move on. Let's go to the trusted.
I don't think that I was their
No. It's I told you, it's for the M's.
It's for the wokers.
And the
if
minorities.
I was woke as hell,
oh yeah,
I'd be clicking everything.
You'd have clicked that. The first thing I would have clicked is George Floyd. If I was woke.
I just saw the picture. I'm clicking it.
So now we've moved on to the most trusted name in news, CNN, and their biggest headline is too soon. Business owners react to Texas lifting mask mandate. Ready, nervous, feeling alone, Texas business owners are responding to Governor Greg Abbott's decision on masks.
Shouldn't businesses welcome that?
I
know the
so.
ones here would.
Yeah. A point that I hope people get about Texas opening up, Mississippi opening up, and releasing their mandates. There were already 14 states who did not have a mask mandate since the beginning. So I don't know why this outrage is now. And just because there's no mandate doesn't mean you don't. You can still wear a mask,
right?
I mean, you can still wear a mask, and that's what the governor said.
All I can say about this is California had the wokest, most lockdown policy there was during COVID.
Exactly.
And Florida had the opposite.
Complete opposite.
And they have almost exact figures when it comes to death and everything else.
Right.
So
Jersey and New York.
So I don't argue with Texas lifting this.
Jersey and New York had more stringent lockdowns, and their numbers were higher.
And I want to point out that Florida has more elderly people than almost anybody.
Right.
Yet the numbers are the same as California, who was in total lockdown.
Man, on another level, you think about what just happened in Texas with the winter storm, the winter fiasco. They need a moral victory. And what more than, even if it's just in rhetoric, by saying there's no more mandate, even though you can still wear your damn mask. That sounds really, really good to the people of Texas, and that their businesses can open 100% now. Send it.
Except for CNN's trying to spin it to where businesses are saying it's too soon.
Right.
Now, I wonder what businesses they're referring to. But I'm not going to click it. I'm not going to click
Texas
it.
has already been open, though. Dallas has been
Exactly.
open. Houston has been open.
Exactly.
What else we got on the most trusted name in news? This county has so many vaccine doses, it's offering them to anyone over 18.
Is it in California? I seriously doubt it.
I doubt it. Nah. Tiger Woods told police after crash that he didn't remember driving.
Well, naturally, if you bang your head on something, you probably won't.
Makes sense. The country's making dubious claims over COVID-19 and what that means for the world. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I'm not baited. So we're going to try Fox News. Fair and balanced is what their tagline is. I'll finally remember that. Their biggest headline, Fox News, is New Cuomo Bombshell. Democrats' top advisors pushed health officials to alter report on nursing home deaths.
He killed all those old elderly people.
I'll say this. I'm glad that the Cuomo news is not the creepy old man possible sexual harassment news.
Oh, even though the one right below it is.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a lot of things going for him right now.
He really does. Did you see the apology? He apologized.
Yeah,
He
and then I saw his brother apologize for his brother.
I'll say this, as far as damage control is concerned, you know what I mean? It's not much more than that he can do. So I don't want to say kudos or hats off, but you know I can't really knock him for it. You know what I mean? What else can you do,
right?
Besides either say it's all false or apologize, because the allegations kind of were a lot of creepy old man type stuff, like the touching, the saying words, but that kind of...
Well, it's just funny to see a woker like him
right
apologize for everything. But if it was like the opposite, like Trump, he's not apologizing for anything.
Oh, but there is an opposite. There's a former presidential physician who a congressional watchdog investigated him for like some similar allegations of sexual harassment, making women feel uncomfortable, abusing alcohol on the job,
right.
and saying that they was concerned about him taking sleeping pills on the job.
Well, I'm just saying because he's supposed to be standing for all these women's rights. And, and believe all women and yada yada yada, and then it comes down to it, and he's like, "Oh, it pains me deeply."
I'm sorry if they felt uncomfortable.
Right.
That was not my intentions. Get out of here, you creepy old man. It's a video where him when he was getting a shot of something. He's looking at the nurse doctor. He was like, "You make that gown look good." Man, if this guy isn't going down, then I don't know what going down is.
Oh, he's going down.
He has to be. I mean, even like his own party in his own state is bringing up all of this, and trying to get him out.
He's been a failure, just like Newsom has.
Exactly. This Newsom stuff is interesting. Like he's about to be recalled.
Can't wait.
One more from Fox News before we move on from the headlines. I guess it wasn't quite a slow news week, but I guess these headlines are weak. There's been a lot of news this week. There's been a lot of news this week with the COVID bill.
I guess just tonight at whatever time it is, there's just not a lot of catchy headlines. I'd be interested to see how it changes throughout the day.
Right.
Because they alter this stuff all the time.
Beverly Hills shooting. Robbers take off with $500,000 watch and brazen heist report. Houston man fatally shot while trying to get stolen car back.
6ix9ine in the area? What happened here?
The headline reactions failed to clickbait. So
I didn't feel like clicking anything.
Not one bit. Not one drill bit.
I was even looking at the small print stuff.
I know, right? Nothing.
Affirmative Reaction Podcast.
Well, Dr. Seuss is in the news for being racist. Or promoting
post-mortem.
Right, or promoting racist imagery. Now, the whole stink was first the Virginia school district said that they were going to no longer read these 6 books because they had some racist imagery in them that depicted Asians and Africans.
Virginia's got a lot of white guilt.
Yeah. They depicted Asians and Africans in a derogatory way, so they said they were going to stop these 6 books. And then the Dr. Seuss Enterprise came out and said, yeah, we were going to stop publishing these books. And then it just became a big stink. You know what I'm saying? People on the right was like, this is cancel culture. Literally clowning it. I mean, literally clowning it. And then you got the people on the left like, the people on the right are freaking out about it. Oh my God. Like, they're mad they can't cancel Dr. Seuss. We got the COVID bill and cancel culture isn't real. Like, they created cancel culture.
For sure.
But like I said, the whole stink is because Dr. Seuss, these images the books had some racist images. And this also was on the heels of the Muppets, of Disney putting out a disclaimer saying that there was some racist imagery in the Muppets. Now, before I get into this, that kind of goes to show you which makes more money and which doesn't. Because there's an image of the Confederate flag in an episode of the Muppets that they put a disclaimer on. They didn't pull it. They didn't pull it off. They put a disclaimer on it. And there's some racist, some reportedly racist imagery, some illustrations of caricatures, not even real people, that the Dr. Seuss Enterprise said, you know what, we're not even going to sell anymore. It doesn't hurt their bottom line. Not as much as Disney pulling the Muppets, that episode, you know what I'm saying, and how much they would have had to go through as far as the actual streaming infrastructure and just pulling off of that one episode. That would have hurt their bottom line way more than Dr. Seuss not selling If I Ran the Zoo. But I came across this op-ed from CNN.com, and it's by Jill Filipovic, and she says the title of this op-ed is "The Real Reason for the Dr. Seuss Freakout." And basically what she is saying is the right and right-wing media is freaking out about Dr. Seuss, saying that all they're focused on is this Dr. Seuss thing. Now, I'll say this. I consume a handful of right-wing media, and when I say they've been clowning this, there is, of course, there is a serious point to make from it, but they've been doing nothing but clowning this, and it's been the left-wing hags that's like taking it really, really serious that people are clowning it. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'll just read some of what she says. She says conservative networks like Fox could do better here. White Republicans, their core viewer base, are the most likely group in America to say they don't want or are hesitant to get the COVID-19 vaccine, with more than half of them saying they either won't get it or are unsure. The networks, the former president, and right-wing commentators could all team up to tell their followers, if we want life to return to normal, then we need to reach something close to herd immunity, and that means getting vaccinated. Instead, they're whining about Dr. Seuss. They're ginning up cheap outrage rather than trying to improve the viewers' lives, and they're making a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, I haven't read the article,
so
that sounds like a stretch.
It is a stretch, and I started there because how do she start talking about the COVID-19
That's what I'm
vaccine
wondering.
off of this Dr. Seuss thing. And it's not. I wish the right wing media and the left wing media start being honest about who is hesitant about the vaccine. It don't have anything to do with right or left, unless you just want to attribute race to one side. Because if you want to talk about the capital B blacks being hesitant to take the vaccine, and you start saying like, all right, so if all the white people are the right wing, and we know that damn near 90% of black people vote Democrat, that means black is the left wing. And wasn't it Kamala talking about something that she would not take the vaccine because she don't trust Donald Trump? And then you got all these black people saying that they won't take the vaccine because of the Tuskegee experiments, or just, you know, being skeptical of vaccines in general. And you got, you know, the white right wingers saying the same thing. All of the Jesus freaks that's been skeptical of vaccines, of any medicine.
Right.
But how does she? Again, that's why I say this race thing is trending, because white Republicans, are we seriously saying that like there aren't any white Democrats?
You ain't black.
Or like not one white Democrat is racist or ever have been racist? But I digress. Back to the Dr. Seuss thing. She also goes to say, but the American right has become the all-out party of gender and racial grievance, and they are hyper-focused on two things: maintaining power and not actually being held accountable for governing. I say this all the time about Democrats. The majority of the things that they say is a projection of what they're actually doing and thinking. The American right has become the party of all-out gender and racial grievances? Are you serious? No matter what else she says, like in this op-ed, I'm glad it's an op-ed and not some kind of report on the front page. But that is, dare I say, fake news. You don't have to even you don't even have to have any, even just a little bit of knowledge on current politics to know that the American right is not the party of gender and racial grievance. That don't even sound right, dude. And they're hyper focused on maintaining power. What politician isn't?
Right.
What political party is it? And not actually being held accountable for governing.
It's almost like a autocorrect. Instead of the American right, she meant to say American left. It's like, oops, it autocorrected to right.
I can't get over that. She says the American right has become the party of all out gender and racial grievances. She clearly doesn't watch MSNBC. Or her own network, for that matter. Because if you turn on the Don Lemon show, the first thing he says is white racism, and how can you not see that racism? Look at that! Look at all that racism over there.
Right.
The Capitol riot. Look at all that racism. Donald Trump. Look at all that racism. It's racism. And the white people he have on his show, they just be sitting there. They really can't say nothing. Yeah, so they just gotta sit there and take it.
Did you call him Don Lemon? Is that what you said?
Don Lemon. That's his name. That leads me to somebody who might have been my snowflake candidate, but he's not. He's just a runner up. But this is somebody who's.
I just wanted to point out you have that page at that certain point, and At the top and bottom are Trump pictures.
Right, the related
How is that
articles.
related?
Right, related to Dr. Seuss. CPAC's dangerous embrace of Trump. Related article. Trump and his CPAC fans lead GOP down a losing path. I have to say this, and I got pardon the partisan, but the GOP, like 20, half of the states have GOP senators, governors, and legislatures. How's the GOP down the losing path? They just lost the election. They lost the House and the Senate and the White House. But half of the states, half of this country is governed by Republicans. I mean, I get it because like we say, they run the media, so they run the narrative. You know what I mean? So of course you'll believe that everybody that follows Trump because of this cult of personality. You know what I'm saying? Which isn't far off. People dig his personality. And you got, like I always say, that Trump derangement syndrome goes both ways. Like the motherfuckers that had the golden calf, the golden Trump has a CPAC. But these people that that commentate for CNN and the MSNBC pundits, people aren't watching to hear them talk about what the Democrats are trying to ram through with these bills, with the voting rights bill, with the, what are they calling it, the people for all people bill or some shit like that. I was reading, or you know what I'm saying, exactly what's in the COVID bill. Because I gotta say that's what they're talking about on right wing media, and then they'll spend some time clowning Dr. Seuss. They're talking about Cuomo and the COVID bill,
which is longer than The Stand. What the hell, dude? Really, 700 pages?
632 pages, dude.
I guarantee none of those people have read a book that's that long.
No. And
who puts these things together? Like, who just slaps? You know what I mean?
The staffers, the staffers, the lobbyists, all of probably the interns, the assistants, the secretaries. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
But no, that's what you hear about on right wing media, and they act like it's just just a lot of mainstream right wing media stations that you can choose from. You got Fox News, like you said, OAN and Newsmax. That's propaganda, so forget about them. You know what I mean?
You have to seek those out too. It's not like they're available on your cable package or whatever.
Right. Like you're not gonna Google a CNN article and then, or like a CNN article isn't gonna pop up and then the Blaze TV article isn't gonna be right. But you have to Google Blaze TV. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I get it. You know, I get why they're saying what they're saying. Same thing with the right wing media. Like I said, they have their narrative too. But it's almost like they kind of don't have a choice but to kind of do some real journalism because they are playing catch up, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, this article was funny, but like I was saying, that leads me to this fella that triggers me. I'm triggered by this fella a lot. Shaun King. Shaun King is his name. And I'm triggered by this guy because like we said, race and racism is trending. It's hot. That's how goofy to say, right? Racism is hot right now.
You know, if I had it my way, we wouldn't talk about race issues all the time on this podcast. We could focus on other things that are important. But that's the story of the day: is racism. Ever since Biden got elected,
it's like everything that you try to talk about that's important is wrapped in racism. or some sort of white supremacy stuff, but the things that as far as talking about the disparate stats with certain races, we're not even talking about the actual issues. You know what I mean? Like, why are those black and Hispanic kids not able to get in those classes? You know what I mean? But Shaun King is always
they were in the same school system as the white nations.
They were. Who are the teachers? Are the teachers white? Are they
Maybe the teachers are racist.
They giving the black kids and the Hispanic kids different tests.
Oh.
But Shaun King, his beat is racism, or I don't know what you call it, but he's a white. He sounds black. He acts black. I think he thinks he's black. And he says it's always good to call out racism, even from Dr. Seuss. I'm not gonna read this, whatever he said, but again, he mentioned about white people and the white right being mad, and he added these 2 tweets, one from Ben Shapiro, hard right, and another from Bridget Fedesi.
Oh, I wouldn't even say he's hard right.
Oh,
I mean, he's a self-professed libertarian.
You might be right.
I think the media likes to lump him in with hard right, but I don't think he actually is. Especially when, like, for instance, he had that thing with Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah.
Who, for instance, he would say Muslim women shouldn't wear the hijab and stuff. And Ben Shapiro's like, I wear this all the time,
Oh, yeah.
So
that Jew condom.
Right.
But Shaun King is saying that they're pissed, but if you read these tweets, it's clowning. Ben Shapiro tweeted BRB buying all the Dr. Seuss volumes for the kids before the woke book burners get to them all.
Yeah. If BRB in all capitals didn't tell you that's sarcasm, you got no hope. He's obviously not pissed.
That did not sound like outrage. And the second one, the kids won't know how to read or do math, but at least they'll be woke. And she posted a link to just an article about it.
So those are his best 2 examples of white people being pissed.
Right.
Even though he said I could have posted a few thousand more. Could you post one that leads me to believe your premise is true? But they don't seem pissed. But I'm not pissed.
It's funny.
It's hilarious.
But I will read this, what he said. It's like what he ended this thing off with. And here's what I know. Bigotry and racism are such a part of white life and power that confronting it makes millions of white people think you are confronting them, and they don't like it. What does that mean, Shaun King? I don't know about you. I know a handful of white people. I know a handful of black people. I just don't see this racism that they talking about.
That's why they pulling up things like this. Like these obscure books. No, I've never heard of these books. Have you?
No.
I know Dr. Seuss, but I know Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah.
Horton Hears a Who.
Horton Hears a
Who the fuck's ever this did to the zoo and all this stuff? Nobody's ever heard of these.
Affirmative Reaction Podcast.
So, this is a first in Affirmative Reaction Podcast history. We have a mutual snowflake.
A mutual snowflake. I don't believe it.
You
and I both chose the same
Snowflake of the Week.
Indeed. Let's read some news here. Some sports news. I like to make this caveat, you know what I'm saying? I don't keep up too much with sports. If you ask me about some sports stuff and give me somebody's name, I'm gonna say what What part of Congress do they work in?
You know, I don't know if this is more common these days or just because I'm reading more news, but it does seem like certain high-profile people in sports get tied in with political things from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's happened historically, but for instance, LeBron James. Maybe it started with Kaepernick. I don't know.
No, it certainly didn't start with those guys. It is something historic, and mainly
because I grew up watching, Joe Montana and
right.
Dan Marino, and I don't remember anything about political coming out of their mouths or being associated with them. But then again, I didn't read news like I do now as a 16-year-old kid.
And I was about to say it's because they're white, and white people wasn't as woke as they are today. So,
oof.
You still had a lot of black players talking about social issues and black people stuff. But I don't want to digress too much. The message was not about fighting this racism. It was about development. It was like, look, if you black and you want to get what I am, this is what you got to do. It wasn't like, let's team up with Shaun King and fight racism. But our mutual snowflake is sports related.
Snowflake of the week.
Mike Tomlin, the black head coach of the Steelers.
They are black and yellow, black and yellow. Oh, yeah. I'm not even going to speculate on the yellow part of it.
So, from Yahoo News, which was actually Yahoo News is reporting on a story from the Post-Gazette, Steelers Mike Tomlin on black head coaches. NFL hasn't been able to move the needle. I normally don't talk publicly during the offseason, but this is a critical issue for us. Mike Tomlin is speaking out about the lack of diversity among NFL leadership. So, that's the gist of this article. And he's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator who he's been interviewed because there's a rule in the NFL that teams have to interview a black. It's called the Rooney Rule. That's the rule.
I know, but who was Rooney? Dan Rooney?
Yes.
I don't remember exactly who that is.
That's the rule. You got to interview a black.
Just one.
Probably
50 people.
Probably just one, exactly. And this Bieniemy fella, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, hasn't had a head coaching job. But the kicker, and what makes him the snowflake, is to piggyback off of what Shannon Sharpe said. Shannon Sharpe was triggered.
Oh, yeah. He was triggered big
Shannon
time.
Sharpe was triggered. Shannon Sharpe says he's not letting Mike Tomlin off of the hook because he's been the head coach of the Steelers for 14 years and he has not hired a black coordinator.
If you don't know who Shannon Sharpe is, he's also a black.
Shannon Sharpe is a black. He's a black and he's in the Hall of Fame. But Shannon Sharpe has a point. Mike Tomlin has been the Steelers head coach for 14 years, and he has not hired a black coordinator. So who else is responsible for getting these black head coaches hired?
Right.
Black head coach. What's your trade secret? What's the seriously? How do you do it? And Tomlin kind of defended himself, saying that he don't regret not having a black coordinator because he hires the best person available, or hires within the league.
Yeah, that's what he's complaining about.
I've had some good black coaches leave for other jobs. they weren't your coordinator.
Not at all.
And that's usually the next step before a head coach. You're a coordinator somewhere.
True.
And then you get hired to be a head coach somewhere.
Unless you're Lane Kiffin. Wait, maybe it was a coordinator.
Then you go to USC. But like I said, Tomlin is a snowflake because he is responsible as well. And maybe he has, but I wish he would come out and publicly say, well, you know what, I might have a hand in this too, because I'm a black head coach in this league. I could make a stink. I could make more of a stink. I could lobby some more. I could hire black coordinators. I can lobby for black coordinators. You know what I'm saying? He's saying that he's mad at the coordinator for Kansas City not having a head coaching job. Where's your black coordinator?
Right. Maybe the Kansas City guy is comfortable with it. Maybe he doesn't want to be a head coach.
Maybe so.
He's picking him out of a pile of people to try to make a point. We haven't even heard from that guy.
But that brings me to a larger issue that's related to the black leadership, because you hear that a lot from our black leaders about how this certain institution isn't allowing that many black people in. Well, how did you get there?
Right. What did you do?
Like, seriously, how did you get to where you're at, Mr. or Mrs. Black Elite? You know what I mean? Like, you hear a lot. You hear that from a lot of the celebrities, the actors, the LeBrons. You know what I'm saying? LeBron, you have to like follow and listen to LeBron to hear this message, but on the mainstream, you're not gonna hear him talking about development, about working hard. Like, I dribbled the ball 1,000 hours. I did this. I did that. I was in the gym. You heard Kobe talking about that. Heard Jordan talking about it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he doesn't, but when it comes to his mainstream message, it is the wokeness. It's the wokeness. But Tomlin, though, you on the hot seat now. So I think, like I said, Shannon Sharpe has a point, and now I think Tomlin needs to start stepping up and being like, instead of saying he's mad at the NFL, you start lobbying. Maybe he has to grow an afro and become an activist and kneel.
Maybe he sees the.
Or in Tomlin's defense, maybe he knows something we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, is the NFL just keeping black head coaches out? You know?
What did Shannon Sharpe said about him trying to maintain his power that he has as one of the few black coaches?
Yeah, I just asked that just to play devil advocate, but that goes to he was speaking to a larger point of the black elites, the black gatekeepers. You know what I mean?
It's like the union people. It's like they don't want.
That is a hell of an analogy.
You know what I mean? They have what they have, and they don't want anybody to take a piece of that pie.
That is a hell of a. Oh my God, that is the best analogy I done heard to summarize.
I just think about Local 1 in New York.
Yeah,
like not necessarily the best workers, the best people, but they have what they have, and they don't want it taken away from them.
From the Reaction Podcast. 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 From the Reaction Podcast.